Hello, 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 and good evening to you all. Thank you for joining my intermittent, very quick live session. I want to talk to you all about what I had the privilege of doing just now. So, I had the opportunity to speak to students from Spelman College, which is right across the street from Morehouse and Clark Atlanta University and Atlanta University Center in Atlanta, Georgia. And I am so grateful to have been invited by Miss Jalea Hemmings, who is the founder and owner of Nourish and Bloom, the world's first fully automated and AI centric um, grocery stores that are organic and whole foods. So I am just really excited because she and I met in Silicon Valley and found out we lived down the street from each other, but there's neither here nor there. I wanted to talk to you about what my workflow was for this conversation. So a few weeks ago, Jalea had asked me if I could speak to her students at the Center for AI at Spelman College about their capstone projects and how they could integrate metaverse technologies into what they were doing. The thing that I found the most interesting was that while they understood that metaverse meant being beyond this world, the marketing for Meta worked so well that they literally thought that it was all about a company, that the metaverse was dependent upon Meta solely and had nothing to do with what it has to do with. So, the metaverse is the embodiment of the internet. It's a collection of virtual worlds where you can live, work, play, and now be educated. It is a place where you can show up as your avatar presence and traverse virtual worlds. It is geographically agnostic and it is in real time 3D. It is a space and a place that you can design the world that you want to live in and invite your friends in to join you. And those memories are cemented because underneath these metaverse technologies are all of the things that we are already really using that make the internet so special. So it's really the embodiment of the internet. And while, yes, it's great to have your headsets, it's great to have virtual reality, mixed reality devices to be able to access it. You don't have to have fancy tools. You literally can have your mobile device, your computer, your tablet, or your phone, and you can traverse these worlds. It may not be as interactive because you're not able to be immersed in that particular environment, but it is still very fruitful for great conversations, great experiences. And this is the generation of young kids who play Fortnite and Minecraft and Roblox, and they are still traversing these worlds. So it was really important to sit down and talk to them and erase some mindsets that they didn't quite understand in terms of Meta being like the monopolizer of the metaverse in itself. But like I told them, Morehouse was Morehouse in the metaverse before Meta changed that, before Facebook changed their name to Meta. And I named us Morehouse in the metaverse. And a lot of people were like, what is the metaverse? I have no idea. And I spent a lot of my time talking about the metaverse. And this was before it became a buzzword. And so I wanted to really get into the minds of these young women. Hey, Dedrin, I wanted to get into the minds of these young women and let them know that I see them, I hear them, and that I wanted to be a part of their ideation process. And I had to literally show them how I use AI because they were so afraid and are so afraid to use generative AI as a part of their workflow. They are so afraid of someone saying that they got to the finish line unfairly, that they have not accessed the tools that would actually allow them to move their idea into a business faster. And that troubled me because as someone who has full knowledge of what life was before the internet, what life was, looking up information that was stagnant in encyclopedias that came out 10 years prior, and hoping that someone had the newer edition and not the 1971, but maybe the 1981, so that I could get real time information. The fact that they have real time information at their disposal and they aren't using it is troublesome, especially in the year 2025. So instead of just talking to them about the metaverse, I gave them an introduction to what it was, the differences between XR, MR, and AR. They weren't really fully abreast of what the extended reality technologies were. And so we had a conversation about that, but we also had a conversation about spatial computing and how you can traverse the metaverse without a device that is fancy snazzy. And so that was a good conversation. But as I continued to talk to them, I really needed them to understand
Someone's at the front door doorbell.
It was important for them to utilize tools that are available to them, like AI. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can see some of what I was telling them. So I started out, I'm gonna do the entire screen, and I'm gonna share my audio. So I started off telling them that, I had only a few minutes in between what I had to do to get them to what they needed. And so since I only had a few minutes, I decided to put my quick idea into Chat GPT. So my friend Chatty and I brainstormed together. So I said, I need several ideas for my talk with students at Spelman College today. They need to know how to incorporate the metaverse into their capstone projects about AI. I need real, researchable, innovative ideas that will get them to thinking futuristically and to solve real world problems: climate change, domestic talent pipeline issues, vocational rehabilitation problems for special needs persons, education transformation, healthcare reform, wellness initiatives, blah, blah, blah. And they gave me some real actionable things, and I thought that was great. And then I said, oh, they even told me how to frame the talk with students and how to build my personal story and all, to incorporate all these structures to do what I wanted to do, because I didn't really need that, but I appreciate it. And while I like Chatty, I knew that there were other sites that I could go to that would give me other information. So I went over to my good friend Claude, Uncle Claude, asked it the same thing, didn't even, but forgot the I. Just told him, listen, I need this thing, and it gave me its ideas. Thought that was great. But I wanted a workflow. I went over to Google Gemini, asked it the same thing. I need several ideas for my talk. It gave me some concepts and AI component, the metaverse component, the impact it'll make, blah, blah, blah. I thought that's great, but I need a workflow. I want to give them like the workflow, the behind the scenes kind of workflow for it. So I asked it to give me a workflow as if I was putting together a digital workbook. So it did just that. So ChatGPT gave me all of this information, and I was like, oh, I like this a lot, right? So I went and I started to document an ideation workflow for them that they could particularly use. And I thought this is going to be amazing, because they have it in a section. It shows the questions, it shows the deliverables. I could just give them this link and share it with them, and they will be straight. But while that's great and everything, I felt like that it could be more. So instead of just using this, I went over to Claude to see what it told me. So I went over to Claude, said, I have no idea why my mouse is checked out right now. But my mouse is checked out, guys. stopped working. There it is. Okay. You know, technology likes to embarrass you, but that's fine. So I went over to Claude and I said, well, what kind of workflow structure would you give me? And then Claude gave me this workflow, but then it also gave me this brainstorming workbook. I was like, okay, come on, framework. You can export this workbook and everything, but it gives you like discover your passion, define the problem, identify stakeholders, apply AI and metaverse, then center equity and ethics, and then plan your project. And I was like, come on, church, that's all right. And then I published it and I copied the link and put it in the document. I put it at the end of this document because I was like, that's dope, right? So this is the Claude AI Capstone one. And then I went over to Google Gemini and I said, now let's see what you're doing with your life. And it gave me this brainstorming workflow. And I think that it's nice, but even if you export it to sheets, this is what it looks like. And I was like, I got to reformat that. I'm going to have to reformat that, try to figure out what that really looked like and how to get that together for them. That's not helpful for me. And I was like, well, you know, my good friend Canva, you can go to Canva AI and put in your idea. So I asked Canva AI to create a workflow for me and code it. And I put in all of this metaverse AI capstone ideation workflow, like the one that I really, really like from ChatGPT. And I told it to code it for me. So after I put in all that information and I literally press code it for me, this is what came up. Love it. So metaverse plus AI capstone ideation workflow. So it's using the language that was there. You can choose your North Star, which headline you liked, putting it in, all that good stuff, right? Complete, go to the next section, do your problem discovery canvas, empathy mapping, problem statement, complete that, blah, blah, blah. This is what I was like, you better code for me real good, Canva, because it gave you a 10-minute timer that you can start, because it's a 10 by 10 brainstorm, list 10 ideas in 10 minutes. And you put your brainstorm in there, but you got the timer running. Okay, then you go to your ideation. It has everything in here, and you can choose it put the sustainable development goals for the UN in here. Okay, 1 through 17 in there. So you can do a drop down, feasibility snapshot, and then validation, concept prototyping, all of the good stuff, your final pitch script. Then you can generate a project summary from that. Okay. All right. All right. And it'll come up with your final pitch script. Bomb. Love it. So yeah. So this one I then tucked into the top and sent that over to the students so that they can use it. But we went through that workflow. But like I said, I had to show them that you can save time by using this as part of your workflow. Like, do not be afraid to ideate and use it as a thought partner in your actual process. We can't do that anymore. How do you overcome 20 generations of not being able to be educated? You ideate, you explore, you don't just sit on your laurels and sit back and wait for the next big idea to happen to you. You create the thing. You become creators. We design the culture. Why not if we define the culture, why not design the future? We have to have our young people understand the importance of this very special time, that they have the opportunity to create the world that they want to live in with the tools that are out there now, that are available for use. And I even apologize to them for social media leaving such an ugly mark in their mouth because we were so cavalier and so happy to just connect with people without having to pay any long distance fees that we forgot that these babies were connecting with strangers and connecting with people that will cause them harm. And so I apologize to them because I wanted to we didn't know either. We thought that it was going to be used the way that we used it. But now when I look back on how the internet or the interwebs was being used when there was Netscape Navigator and AOL chat, and people thought that it was only going to be used for illicit type of things because that's what people were using it for. Marriages was breaking up. Folks was on Oprah and on Jesse Raphael talking about how, such and such was on AOL chat and people had their faces covered up trying to be incognito because they done got caught cheating on AOL chat. So people didn't have a really good thought process behind the internet, but that we see has changed. You walking around with the internet in your pocket, and these platforms and these companies they have access to your data already. You might as well make good on it, because if you don't have generational wealth, and I asked all of them, do you have generational wealth? Like 7 generations or whatever. Like, am I going to make it for myself, my family? I said, but see, this is the thing. You're still trying to make it for your family as the first generation. So you being wealthy in one generation, you got to make sure that it's good for 7 generations for it to be generational wealth. Has anybody done that for you in 7 generations? No. So why do you think that you're taking a shortcut by using these tools to make sure that you're able to create the generational wealth at a time when they're available to you? Don't let anybody get in your head and tell you that you cannot be who you want to be and who you hope to be because you took a shortcut. Don't let nobody sit there and tell you that writing on pen and paper is the only way to succeed. I'm telling you to use it for something fruitful, but I'm not saying go and use it for something that is not going to make you have a better reputation. But use it to innovate. By all means, use it to make sure that all of my ideas got out to these young people so that they could see a workflow real, tangible, and in real time. Absolutely. Do I have the knowledge of everything that is on that workflow? I sure do. Could I have created those documents? Absolutely. How long would it have taken me to code it? It wouldn't have happened tonight. They wouldn't have got it in their hands in real time. And I pride myself on being able to put real tools in the hands of my students who need it the most. And so I don't play those games about what you're going to allow yourself not to have access to because someone else feels like you're playing a shortcut game. Well, call me shortcut, shortcake, because I am not having it anymore. I have done 24 solid years of school from kindergarten to a PhD in biomolecular chemistry, and you will no longer rule my mind and gatekeep for me knowledge and information that is readily available and accessible. And I will not let it happen to the next generation because they have access to the tools that they need right now, and they are brilliant, and they have lots of ideas, and they have no one that's rooting them on in this digital age saying you can be a better digital citizen than we allowed you to be in the social media era. There's no one rooting them on and telling them how wonderful they are and how brilliant they are and that they do have capacity, and use these tools to create capacity for yourself and for your family so that that generational wealth dream that even I had can actually go somewhere in your generation and for the next and the next and the next. Use it to find out about things that you don't have access to. Use it to write business plans so that you will understand what the structure is. Use it to design a course on something that you need, and then go and fact check it and go and dig into the references and the resources and the other tools that you might need. But let it give you a jump start. You do need a head start. You can't tell me as a student at a historically Black college and university that you don't need a leg up and you don't need a head start. And if AI is going to give you the information, the ability to be able to buy and sell companies, to be able to understand real estate, to be able to understand your taxes, to be able to understand how to live in this world, in this digital age, I don't know what is going on, but we can no longer just be users and consumers of technology and allow these companies to just tell us how we're going to use it. We're not doing that anymore. We are going to break their tools. We are going to beta, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, all the way sigma, chi, rho, tau, we're going to do all the testing on these tools. And we are going to be bold enough to stand up and create content around them and say, this needs this, or this doesn't do this, or this is where this specification lacks, or this technical tool doesn't do the things that I needed to do, and make them stretch towards excellence to be able to provide a product that is useful and needed. Otherwise, people are just going to be making creations of unicorns running down the road backwards with no lights or something. Like, I mean, just foolishness, something that, not saying that we don't need certain art in the world, but I'm just saying, like, is that saving lives? Is that giving people joy? Is that really helping people live quality lives? Create something that is going to be beneficial for the future and do it now. And do it with your youth and do it while you have time. Because the only precious commodity that we have is time and our health. Time and our health. As long as you got time and your health, you can do a multitude of things. And even if you don't have all your health with AI, you can do a little bit more. So I'm just saying, like, use these tools and use them to create healthy futures for you and your family and to give you back the time that you needed in your life to do more. That's why we have hollow tutors. That's why we have AI teaching assistants. It's a capacity building thing. I work with Victory XR on those things in education because why not work with somebody that sees the vision that I see for our students being able to get more out of their education and not less? Teacher burnout is too high. Faculty burnout is high as well. There's not enough capacity for the minds that actually need us. And I'm not saying let a robot or a machine do all the hard work, but some of this remote, like just task driven, doing it over and over again, let the machines do it. They ain't got nothing to do. And don't burn yourself out because we actually need your heart. We need your mind. We need your brain. We need your faith. We need your grit. We need your tenacity. We need your liveliness. We need your spirit. We need you to be your full, authentic self so that we could build the world that we want to live in. And that was my message to the students at Spelman College tonight. So if you want to learn more about what I do, reach out to me at unitethemetaverse.com. Good night, all. Well, since my mouse isn't going to work, I guess y'all going to get a part two. And by the way, I have no reason why my mouse is not working. So I have technological issues too, and it might be user generated as well. But there it goes. I will check in with you all later. Thank you so much for joining my live stream. I'll be doing more and more of these as things come up. So thank you for tuning in and good night.